What is it that makes a team come together, to strive towards a common goal, and ultimately work as one unit? For most teams, it all comes down to one person, the coach. The coach is the grout in this mosaic. He bonds everyone together as a leader, a motivator, and in many instances, a father figure who teaches not only about the game of basketball, but about the game of life. For over 24 years, Rich Panella of Cardinal Stritch University on Milwaukee's North Shore has been such a coach. He has led his women's softball and basketball teams to great successes. There have been conference championships, national tournament bids, and one of his teams even made it to the Elite Eight. Rich has been named Coach of the Year 17 times, has racked up over 500 wins, and is a member of the Wisconsin Basketball Hall of Fame. While there are many things that make him special, what's most impressive is how his teaching translates to life off the court. Just ask his players. They'll tell you that through it all, he's remained humble and has never lost his sense of humor.
We're on our way to the locker room and super pumped, and all of a sudden our coach stops and yells, "Stello!"
He comes up to me and says, "Stello, I have to tell you, you almost had a triple-double tonight." And I was really excited, and I was like smiling. I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, with points, rebounds, and turnovers."
Some coaches can say that and kids get turned off. But I think they can see in his eyes how much he cares.
My dad was a coach, and my parents were hearing impaired, and my dad coached amateur deaf teams and won a couple national championships. Actually got into the Deaf Hall of Fame and coached the United States Olympic team to a gold medal in 1969. So coaching was always kind of in my blood.
I think the thing that makes me the proudest of Rich is his caring for other people. He just loves people, and he just always wants people to do well. If you want somebody in your corner, you want Rich Panella in your corner.
I knew of Rich through Rick Majerus. Majerus kept telling me that this guy was as good a coach as he was. And so my son enrolled in his summer basketball camp. And I went a couple times and I was amazed at how good a coach this guy was that people didn't know. And I've been in basketball for 30 years. I think I know a good coach, and he was spectacularly good, just what he was teaching, how he was teaching.
The reason why Rich Panella is a true winner, not only on the basketball court, but in life, is that he demands the best out of each and every person.
Like every good coach, Rich Panella faces every opponent with a good scouting report and a team of talented players who will run through walls for him without ever asking why. Only now Rich faces the biggest opponent yet, one who has a nearly perfect record, and that's ALS. But don't get the sense that this is a game of one-on-one. Quite the contrary. For the tables have turned, and instead of Rich helping out one of his teams deal with a challenging opponent, it's his team that's helping him. And what an impressive team it is. Perhaps team is the wrong word, whereas family would be more appropriate when it comes to Coach Panella. Of course, Coach has his starting five. There are his children, Nick, Lisa, and Tiffany. But the real captain of this team is his remarkable wife, Mira. She is the one who has been at virtually every home game, and over the years has been the team leader.
I can't tell you how many life lessons I have learned from my husband, the coach. Just always helping me in terms of work. If I come home from work and I'm upset about a situation, and he'll remind me, you know, "Mira, you're part of the team."
There's also the extended family. Some call them Panella's Pack. This past October, this team represented more than 400 ALS walkers who are made up of current and former players, faculty members, family, and even players from other Cardinal Stritch teams. On that Sunday in autumn, Panella's Pack alone raised over $25,000 for ALS research.
The fact that so many people came together not only to support Rich, but more importantly, to support the fight against ALS. It's immeasurable.
Well, Rich goes out of his way to say that his wife, Mira, is a saint. And I found myself saying, the same exact thing. The sacrifices that your wife and your kids make for you to live a dream, it's unmeasurable. It's tremendous, and I always have a great appreciation for what Rich has done, but what the families go through as well, and that's one thing that he taught me.
Mira is one of the most engaging and warm people you'll ever meet, and then his children, and then it just grew from there. It was a friendship forged with a love of a game that became my love of his family.
To say this man has made a difference in people's lives would be the understatement of the century. When the university decided to host Team Together Night, honoring Coach Panella, hundreds of people attended. There were friends, family members, and even former players who flew back to Milwaukee on their own dime to share in the ceremony.
I'll never forget the event because of the stories that his girls or women told. It was unbelievable.
When Cardinal Stritch dedicated their home court, it was a standing room only affair. Perhaps it's simply another excuse to be in a room with this man who is larger than life, someone who cares so deeply about his family, his faith, and everyone around him.
Well, I remember the first time I met Rich Panella. I had heard about this awesome basketball coach because of the friendship that he has, the close friendship that he has with Rick Majerus. And I just remember seeing a fellow who was not too big in stature, but there was an aura about him. And I think my father reminded me of this sort of rare person who could walk into a room and everyone would take notice.
Sometimes I forget that the players aren't three-dimensional chess pieces. I don't mean that disrespectfully of them, but Rich always remembered that they were young ladies. He treated them like his daughters, and that's the thing that really struck me about Rich. He was always a family-first guy.
There's an old saying among coaches. It reads like this: players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Rich Panella is a walking testament to this point of view.
What do I like most about coaching? Probably the interaction with the student athletes and the teaching and trying to impact their lives as much as their basketball abilities.
He's very faithful. He loves his family, and he always preaches us about school and making sure that our grades, he's always in line with our grades, and that he follows through with our professors. And it's not so much that he's preaching to us, it's always that we get to follow this great man and follow in his footsteps and kind of understand what it takes to be at his level. Kids
sometimes feel like they sacrifice. I want to play basketball, I want to play sport, but I got to put up with stuff. Coach is nuts, we're working too many hours. It's like a give and take. And I think with Rich Panella, it was, they never said, well, I got to play basketball, but it was, I got to play basketball and I got this, and I got that. And that's the special part of it.
There's always been a trust with the Stritch community, the basketball community, my family, my friends. There's been a trust between us that has led to a bond that, eventually led to that kind of support.
The great Notre Dame coach, Knute Rockne, was asked at the end of a season, "So coach, how do you think the season went?" Rockne replied, "I'm not sure. Check back with me in 10 or 15 years." This statement could be the ideal summation for Coach Panella's legacy. And today, as he faces his biggest opponent yet, Rich Panella can take solace in knowing that he's got a very large team of all-stars behind him. Having only recently turned over the reins, Coach may not be that foot-stomping, arm-flailing presence that he once was on the court that bears his name, but his influence is still felt in the gym, on campus, and throughout the entire community each and every day. If we all could make even a small attempt to be like Rich Panella, the world would be a much better place indeed.
The only time I ever couldn't get a good answer out of Rich Panella is when I asked him to talk about himself, because he's so humble, he's so self-effacing. He's a team guy, first and foremost, so it's not surprising. And this evening of hope, to me, is so very appropriate in that regard, as we hope and pray for the Panella family and for Rich in particular, and the great example that everyone out in the audience tonight sets by making a commitment of time, of talent. I couldn't think of a greater attitude to go into this battle than the one that Rich has, the one that everyone out there within the sound of my voice has tonight. Because one day, this disease is going to be in the rearview mirror.
As the wife of someone who has ALS, what I have learned is that you have to have hope. You have to know if you are an ALS patient, don't forget you are not alone.